guys, we have to 27.17. This. I'm going to start the Lilac Cottage, chapter 20, was it? Because we finished chapter 19. Yep. And then I'm going to have to figure out where the middle of chapter 8 was this. But I got into chapter 21 or 27. 21 in this book. But obviously it's not thinking. So I'm going to have to ask for more time to read it for you guys. So, chapter 20. Henry returned to the gingerbread house and Penny looked at him hopefully as Daisy ran off to get a few more oversized sweets. Don't worry, I've sorted it. She won't bother us again. Really? Because she simply walked off with a skip in her step. I've sorted it, Henry repeated. He threw himself into the building the house, hoisting Daisy up so she could help to attach the roof and do the icing at the top, helping the decorations and the best placement of the big foam sweets from the aesthetic appeal. Lastly, as several teams had already finished, they added the cardboard box to the front, making a sharp porch, and quickly added decorations and icing to that too. He barely heard the cheers from the audience as they saw what they were doing, or the good natured calls or cheating from other teams. His mind was only on what he had to do after this was finished. It was scummy. He knew that, and he'd probably end up with no job afterwards anyway, but it was the only way to stop this before it got any further. Really? Everyone I got to do? Thank you. The other teams finished, and they just walked around to make their decisions. But he was barely aware of any of it. His heart was hammering against his chest. For their initially in using the cardboard box as their porch, they won first place in the design stakes, something that Daisy and Penny were over the moon about. But Henry couldn't concentrate, could barely even muster a smile as the hammer of chocolate and the other goodies were handed over. They didn't win overall because they had been one of the lead teams to complete their house. Daniel and Maggie's team won again, but Henry was so distracted he even forgot to clap. He was finding it difficult to breathe now as panic slowly set in. Edward awarded the final prizes, said a few more words to the crowd, and then suddenly people were leaving. He looked at his watch. It was already gone half past 5. He needed to act now. As the last of the crowds departed and people shouted their goodbyes to each other, Henry left Penny and Daisy and marched straight over to Edward. But as he got close, he noticed that Audrey, Clara's assistant, was talking to him. Crap! He hadn't accounted for this. What was she telling him? If she was a friend of Clara's, then she certainly wouldn't be painting him in a very good light for what he had said to Clara in the office the other day. But whatever she was saying, he wasn't going to turn back or change his mind. He approached, and Edward was clearly furious. Edward saw him clover, and his expression of anger only deepened. Henry, is this true? Henry said, it depends what Audrey has told you. I can certainly tell you my version if you like. Edward nodded, his eyebrows flashing down in a deep frown as Henry explained everything. He had never seen Edward so angry before, and Henry tried to imagine what he would feel if someone came up to him and said these things about Anna. Henry would mostly likely take a swing for them, and Edward looked about ready to do the same thing. Finally he finished, well, most of it. That's pretty much what Audrey already told me. She told Clara that if she doesn't leave you alone, she would tell me. And after seeing Clara with you today, Audrey knew it had gone too far. She threatened me with my job if I told you, but I'd rather lose it than let her get away with it. Audrey said, clearly as terrified about telling Edward as Henry had been. I I know you have no reason to believe me, Henry said. I've worked for you for one day, but I have no reason to lie to you. I want this job. I moved across the country to take this job, and I would never do anything to risk losing it. But I will not be blackmailing into sleeping with her so I can keep it. Sadly, I can prove I'm not lying too. Right now, she is waiting in her office for me to come and sleep with her. She told me to meet her there at 6, or she would tell my girlfriend that we've been sleeping together. I agreed, knowing that I was never going to go, and thought she might like to go in my place. You're able to see that I'm not lying about this. Her being there should be all the proof you need. Henry, I don't need any proof. I believe you. Sadly, it's not the first time this has happened. Although I've heard rumours before, and none of the men were actually brave enough to come and tell me about it. I don't know if any of them slept with her to keep their jobs. I'd like to think they slept with her because they wanted to, not because they were forced to. Without any complaints or proof, there was very little I could do to stop it, other than talk to her, but she insisted she had never done anything wrong. I will go and see her now, and I will put a stop to this. With my sincere apologies that this has happened, but I assure you it will never happen again, to you or anyone else. Please rest assured, both of you, that your jobs are safe, but I would ask that you please keep this to yourselves. This reputation of Whitecliff Bay Furniture is a very good one, and I would hate something like this to traverse the company or get into the local or national presses. Henry and Audrey nodded. Edward said goodbye, and Henry thanked Audrey for her honesty. He would have told Edward anyway, but it was easier having two of them clamber the same story. He walked back over to Penny, feeling like a huge weight had been lifted off his shoulders. He should have told Edward the other day rather than being dragging it out like this. It could have been over so much sooner. Daisy was nowhere to be seen as he approached. Penny was watching him carefully. Daisy has gone off to see an art exhibition in town with one of her new friends. Apparently Jackson Catwood has some paintings in the town hall, so she wants to see it. And then they are going for pizza afterwards. I hope you don't mind. I said it was okay. I gave her some money, and Rebecca's mum said she would drop Daisy off later, and she trailed off as he suddenly wrapped himself around her, holding her close to him and not caring who saw. It was over, and now everything could get back to being perfect again with this incredible, patient, beautiful woman. Penny tried to watch Henry talking to Edward outside the lunch window without letting Daisy notice how worried she was. They had come back from dropping off a couple of ice sculptures earlier, and Edward had been waiting for them, awkwardly talking with Daisy, who had also returned in their absence. Read more of this tomorrow.